What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sir Hunt's Reviews. My name's Mark, and I have a special guest with me. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, kind sir?
Hello, everybody. My name is Dominic, and I am from the YouTube channel, the Atomic Dom. How's it going?
All right. Do you want to, real quick, before we get into this, we're going to be talking about a theory about how the dragons may die in season 7, and I just want to get your, just tell us real quick the kind of content that you make over there.
So I make nerd and geek fandom content, but there is a primary focus on everything A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. So I do like spotlight series based on characters that are in the books but aren't in the show. And I also make theory videos and stuff like that, just like fan love videos, really, for the TV show.
Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. When I was theorizing ways that Cersei or any of Dany's enemies really would go about killing one of her dragons, I researched ways that dragons were killed in the past, like throughout A Song of Ice and Fire. Long story short, a lot of them were killed by Targaryens involving other dragons.
That's right.
Since there are no other dragons really to oppose Drogon, Viserion, or Rhaegal, Cersei will have to be creative. Now, I want to know, just off the top of your head, I know that you've been keeping up with the spoilers somewhat, but I know you haven't been as detailed, me as well. So I know there are a few spoilers involving it's actually speculation. It's not even really it was confirmed. It was just mentioned in one of the articles on Watchers on the Wall that there could potentially be some sort of anti-dragon weapon. They saw some device that they weren't sure what it was. You know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah.
So what do you think, pretend that you didn't even hear that. What would you, if Cersei was forced to fight dragons, which she will be, what do you think her first go-to weapon will be? Do you think she'll consult with Qyburn, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we all know that she has the wildfire. That's her atomic bomb. She'd have to find a way to weaponize it and make it airborne, in a way that could really pose a threat to the dragons. But I just don't see. I mean, she could also use traditional, medieval weaponry that we haven't seen that much of in Game of Thrones, if you really think about it, such as trebuchets and catapults, to maybe really try and snare them with a net or something like that to bring them down. But I don't know if she's the person. While I don't think the dragons are anywhere near as invincible as they have been so far, I'm not sure that Cersei's going to be the one to take them down, unless she does have outside help. Now, the big one is obviously the wildfire, but we also have the weirwood trees. There's a part in the book where Bran has one of his visions, and he sees a Stark carving arrows out of weirwood tree, and he thinks that this could be Torrhen Stark's brother. Now, Torrhen Stark was the king of the North when Aegon first landed with his dragons.
Yeah, the king who knelt.
That's right, the king who knelt, and his brother was a Snow. I forget his name though. And he said to Torrhen, "Look, I will go to where his camp is, and I will kill his 3 dragons." But Torrhen was like, "Don't be ridiculous." But the interesting thing was that he genuinely thought he could do this. And so when Bran has this vision of this young northerner carving arrows out of a weirwood tree, that has got a lot of people thinking that the weirwood may be able to defeat dragons, or may have special properties in it that will allow it to destroy dragons.
Yeah, and let's think about this. I know we're going on a little bit of a back into the history, and then we'll bring it back to season 7 though. But yeah, so I think I agree with what you're saying. I think that's George's way of subtly hinting towards us that obviously, I can't remember his name either, but Torrhen Stark's brother, the Snow, he knew something about weirwood arrows. George is the type of person where he's just going to leave that open to interpretation. And if we know what the show's shown us, if that's which I'm sure will go down a similar way to the way the show showed us, where they had the flashback to the creation of the White Walkers. Remember, he was created under a weirwood tree. So if they're everything ice, weirwoods grow they used to grow all throughout Westeros, but they pretty much only grow in the north now. So we just know that that's linked to northern gods and northern magic. So if that's the case, them being ice, just the dragon being fire, being the opposite of that, I think the magical properties, just like you were saying, could be attributed to the weirwood arrows, and that would be used to, maybe not just any kind of, arrow tip. Maybe it's like a Valyrian steel arrow tip or something like that.
Yeah.
But we We do actually no. It could be regular steel because I remember back in season 5 in the Pits of Daznak. Remember Drogon? Yeah, he was being pierced, and they had regular, steel
That's
weapons.
true. Yeah, he did not look ready for that.
But yes, commenting on what you said about the net. If I were her enemy, that's what I would do. Honestly, I would get one that is big enough to hold the dragon still long enough for it to be like berated with bolts and spears. You remember how Meraxes was killed with a bolt straight to the eye,
Of course.
Yeah.
She was, yeah, exactly. I mean, the problem is Cersei's obviously broken a lot of bridges and severed a lot of ties. I think the Dornish would be very helpful in taking down dragons.
Yeah, but now, Dany has just like any kind of overwhelming force will be like her best bet. You know what I mean? Like just completely trying to overpower her.
Definitely. But I watched your video, your latest video about the dragons being as big as planes. And if it does go down that way, I just don't know what Cersei could do unless it's something that involves magical properties. Because I think even nets at that point, I don't know how effective they'd be against dragons like that.
And that's the thing. Maybe because I don't know if you knew that Euron and Cersei, but this is probably part of the plot leak, I guess. But Euron and Cersei are supposed to be teaming up, so it would be even more like interesting if they use one of Euron's giant fishing nets. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, I've not actually heard that, and I've not actually really even considered it, but that's really cool if they team up, because Cersei's I know a lot of people hate Cersei, but I think they hate her for the right reasons, because she's a really good villain. And I don't want to count her out. A lot of people think, oh, Dany's just going to come in and just, sweep her aside. But Cersei didn't get to where she has by being stupid. She's rash and she's impulsive, but she's not stupid. And she needs allies. So her and Euron, her teaming up with Euron, that could be really interesting. And Euron. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. It might be devastating.
Yeah, definitely. And Euron seems like, we know in the books, but I won't reference the books too much, but Euron is in the show for a reason, because he hasn't been so far. He just seems to be a bit ancillary, but he's there for a reason, and that reason could be that he knows how to deal with the dragons.
Hell yeah, like that could be like a way for them to sneak. Obviously Euron is a way bigger part of the books than he is in the TV show. Honestly, the Greyjoys, other than Theon, have really been shit on. You know what I mean? Like we should have heard about Euron back in like season 4, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, even if it was just like a few episodes just to establish who he was as a character. Like maybe we could have gotten a flashback to him right before he comes back to the Iron Islands. Like maybe he's hanging out around there and we see more of his back history. Obviously, if that were to happen, he would have been recast. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's how they do it. But we would have had at least something as just like what I like to call just an average show watcher. They would have had something to relate back to, like, oh, okay, this guy's a badass and he actually might be a serious threat. Because as of right now, we've had 2 episodes with him. And honestly, it does not do justice to how insane of a villain he is in the novel.
Exactly. Like in the books, he's huge. He's larger than life. He's eccentric. He's kind of the most worldly character because he's traveled the most. But if you're just watching the shows and you don't really care about the fiction outside of it, or you're not really, once you watch the show, that's it. I'm guessing that when you get to season 7, you may have forgotten that Euron was even in the previous ones, because there's so much to keep track of already, and he hasn't really left that much of an impression. So for him to come in now, I think they're going to have to spend a lot of time with him, so that when he does do whatever he's going to do that's actually quite impressive, we feel it more,
Yeah, like it's impactful. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But another way is relating back to what you were saying a little bit. If killing the dragons, if Cersei somehow were able to attach like a chain to a rock or something, it could kind of spear the dragon with the chain. This could be one of the not catapults, but what is it, a trebuchet? Like maybe she's got a steel tipped trebuchet and it pierces the dragon, and then the chain's attached to a giant rock, and maybe she's able to spear it on both sides, like holding it in place, and then they just start taking it. I know that's probably really graphic, but
well, it makes sense. It probably wouldn't be Drogon. It would probably be one of the other dragons, but it does make sense, because I don't see a world in which these dragons are going to survive that long afterwards. I don't see the Targaryens being restored and loads of dragons coming back. So I do reckon that we could lose more than one this season, even though I hate to say it. And Cersei just seems like, I mean, what better way to make us hate her more than have her kill a dragon? And the trebuchet angle, or like a giant spear, or like a harpoon or something, you know?
Yeah, like
especially.
Remember the Hobbit? They use those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, if she could use something like that to protect King's Landing, because at the end of the day, that's hers now.
Yeah, and it was in honestly King Landing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think King's Landing has ever been like breached successfully, like all the way. It's never been taken over, unless they've been let in, like with Tywin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not the only time they've ever been breached at all. I mean, Stannis got close, but Tyrion sorted him out. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously never been an air assault before, because dragons haven't had to attack King's Landing. It wouldn't make any sense, but now they kind of will, and we all know they will, because we've seen that brand vision of the future with the shadow of a King's Landing. I mean, it could be the past, but I doubt that. I think that's coming.
Yeah.
So yes, sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying that flashback. There's a lot of interesting, like the way that it was just like mashed all together, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you stop it and look at the frames and everything, and as I'm sure everybody has, it's some interesting stuff. But I do think that the dragon attack is coming, or that Daenerys is coming on the back of a dragon. And the problem with that is that she'll show her hand, and knowing Daenerys, she won't just show up and do something like what Tywin would do, is just show up and destroy it straight away and have it done with. She'll probably show up and offer Cersei an out, which is her basically showing her hand, and Cersei will then be able to manipulate or do what she does best and react to that. So I think things could be tough.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. Like, you know, maybe if Daenerys didn't have Tyrion by her side, Daenerys would be a lot more screwed, in the sense that Tyrion knows his sister and knows his brother. You know what I mean? He actually that could be the thing too. Is he knew Cersei back when she lost Tommen, which honestly was her lowest point, other than when she. Honestly, that was really her lowest point. The last time we really saw her show emotion, other than when she was in the jail cell, than when she first came back out of the jail cell. She quickly became who she was before. So Tyrion knows her in and out. So he's going to, of course, counsel Daenerys to, don't just go in there guns a-blazing, go in there to meet her. And that's where Daenerys is going to get screwed. It's going to be an ambush. You know what I mean? Like, Cersei is not just going to meet with her. Cersei will probably send Jaime, just because we know how she knows Tyrion will be there. You know what I mean? I don't think she's dumb enough to go there herself.
Well, she doesn't know that Tyrion's with Daenerys yet. So when she finds out, that could be a blind spot for her, because she's filled with such rage.
Well, yeah, Tyrion. I don't think the show. I can't remember if season 6, if they did say that. I know that she knows that she's headed her way. I think she'll quickly find out, though. I think she'll find out before, because you remember, Qyburn took over the little birds. So maybe she knows. Yes. She'll eventually find out. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. That is very true. So she's going to have a web of information as well, which will make her even more powerful in a sense, which is probably why Jaime will be the one to be her downfall, because you're going to need somebody that's close to her, that can get close to her to do something.
Yep. And we saw what I think, and what a lot of people think, filming locations for Dragonstone. So if Dany does go to Dragonstone and set up, then obviously it's going to take some time, not too much time, but enough time so that Cersei will hear that Tyrion is with her before she goes to meet with him. I think she'll probably, if she does go herself, she might even try to just completely be off-putting and actually be somewhat civil towards her, like bringing me up to another way that one of the dragons could die. Like maybe she could forcibly feed, like, because we know dragons eat, obviously, and one of the offerings, one of her peace offerings might be some kind of meal for the dragons or something. I know this is like, let's throw on our tinfoil hats first. How about that? But maybe the dragon is fed like a whole bunch of like toxins and like deadly herbs and shit, and then once one of the dragons eats it, it's like slowed down or it dies itself. What do you think about that? Like, basically, the dragons will eat that and then get poisoned.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's smart, and you have to be to beat a dragon because they're not going to beat it with force. So it makes sense that they would use something. And I don't like to say this, but they do say poison is a woman's weapon, and obviously,
Exactly.
you know,
I'm glad you said that because then I didn't have to.
yeah, that's it. I don't. That's what it said, but I don't agree with it. But that's what it said, and I get that that may be an option for Cersei, I should say. But I just think
she's familiar with poison. You know, she almost killed her son with it, and killing herself too.
Exactly, yeah, and it could happen. It could happen. I do think they may not do it just because it would be a bit of a letdown to see a dragon go out that way. But I mean, I also think that Game of Thrones doesn't really care about things like that, about letting us down like that.
Maybe it doesn't even take them out completely. Maybe it just makes it so that she can only use Drogon and someone else or whoever doesn't eat that. But another thing, real quick, because I know people are going to jump in my comment section talking about, well, dragons burn their food before consumption. I don't know if the poisons would then be effective, you know, because we've seen how dragons, how they eat. But maybe the bigger they are, the stronger their intestinal organs become, and they don't have to burn their food. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think that the possibility of them burning it will render the poisons useless, or do you think that they won't even pay attention to that?
I mean, it depends. I mean, yeah, they have to burn it, but they could, if she's going to serve her food, then they could burn it themselves beforehand, and you know, put the poison in that way, and say, and you know, so it's already in there. I mean, if that was going to be the case, but I think Daenerys would be stupid to let one of her dragons eat something from Cersei, especially if Tyrion's telling her what to do. But I get it. I can see it happening.
All right. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I know it feels like I cut it short, but there will be a part 2. Dom, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you at?
Oh, yeah. And by the way, you can click up here on the screen right now, and it'll take you straight to his channel. But
yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me today. It's been fun. You can find me at Twitter at the Atomic Dom, and yeah, I'm on the Atomic Dom YouTube channel and on Instagram at Atom Dom.
All right. And like I said, you can click up here on the screen, and that'll take you straight to his channel. I want to thank you all so much for watching.
Like goal for this video will be 42. If you would like to enter my contest to win the Daenerys Dark Horse figurine, all you have to do is like this video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter. Remember, part 2 will be coming shortly. Thank you all so much. Have a good one.